TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I'm your host, Patrick Murtagh, and maybe there'll be a week I don't mess up the opening that I wrote myself and have been saying for now at least 65 episodes. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Patrick Murtagh, and I took it on the chin last night, not at work, but, getting ready for work, and it just looks like, I'm going to tell people I got into a bar fight last night. If you're watching on YouTube, you see I got a little cut on my chin. Wasn't fun, and then it started at work. I bumped into something, and I was like, oh, I got to leave the floor. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT. We're still in the holidays. We're here. We are deep in it and just getting deeper, right? By the time you're listening to this, maybe we're on our way out. Maybe we're in a better place. But right now, at the time of this recording, just know every part of my body aches. My spirit is just in sleep mode and running on fumes. But that's okay. That's what we do. This is the time of year that we live for. No, that's not true. But it's the time of year that we live through. And we're going to get through that. And we're going to unpack a little bit of that with today's guest, as we have been doing with our most recent guests in our holiday edition of these TUFF Shift episodes. If you can't tell, because I've been very honest these past few weeks, actually a couple months, I was like walking around this morning getting things ready for this episode. I'm like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I feel like there's something I'm supposed to do as part of my routine this morning. I had my coffee, all the things. I, had my little bit of cottage cheese, everything. I'm like, okay, I'm checking my emails. I'm watching, House Hunters. What is it part of my morning routine to get me ready for the day? And then as I'm getting set up to do this episode, I'm like, your ADHD medicine. So at some point, you will see it kick in, maybe, if you're watching on YouTube, and it'll be just like that owl gif that I've talked about, where you'll just see me go, and it will be fun for all of us. Until then, enjoy the ride. All right, before we get on to this week's normal scheduled show, I just want to go back and, this is pre-shift. And what do we do at pre-shift? We talk about things. We touch back on certain items that we want to bring focus back to be aware of. We're spinning a lot of plates, and that's what pre-shift does, is it brings us together so we can talk about, like, hey, how are we doing on collecting checks? How are we doing on restocking dishware? How are we doing at running dishes? How are we doing at stocking up the wine? How are we doing at setting ourselves up for success, right? That's what we do in a pre-shift, and it's no different on the show. Just items that we talk about and we bring up as it comes up. And once again, I feel like Bernie Sanders. Once again, I am asking you not to ask my name. You don't need to know my name. You don't need to know your server's name unless you're vibing. You don't need to know anything about me. You don't need to know my personal life. You just need to give me your order. And you also need to see, especially if I'm in the service well, if I'm looking at a screen, if I'm looking at a sea of tickets, I want you to get some context clues. And it's kind of like double dutch, being like, when I look at you, because I see you. And you've never worked in the industry, because anyone who works in the industry knows that when they go to the line to talk to chef, they stand there and wait to be acknowledged. When they see the chef with a sea of tickets, they don't just say, Chef, where's my table 52? Because your ass would be out. Your ass would be out. And you're a customer. You're not here to work. You're not here to put in all that. And it shouldn't be on you. But you're a human being on this planet. And what do I always say? Restaurants, like life, are a shared experience. So I know you really want to order your drink. I know you really want to know, what's this restaurant all about? What's my favorite thing? Oh, I know you want to know that. And I see you, and I smile, and I nod. And you just jump in. Hey, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? And again, and I've said this so many times, it's not that I don't want to give you my name. It's that I don't want to give you the power, because you don't really care about seeing me as a human being and acknowledging me and be like, I know Sean, and I know Sean's a human being, because like I've also said many times, I'm a human being whether you know my name or not. I'm a human being whether or not you see me as a human being. What I need you to do, if really see me as a human being, is just chill the fuck out. You want to know my name? I'll tell you, baby. But like, at least, at least let's get the order. Let's have a few sips. Let me know if you like it or not. Let's let's get that out of the way before you start asking me about. So you an actor? So what brought you here? So blah 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 blah. What do you do around here? And it's like I told this to someone last night. They're like, what's your least favorite question? And I said, besides my name, people ask, what do you where should we go now? Where should we go now? What do we do around here? And I just say, I don't know, go home. That's what I do. I don't hang out around where I work, especially, in New York when I was working in places, they weren't in my neighborhood. My neighborhood is where I lived. My work is where I worked. And no, that you want to I go to Hell's Kitchen. I go to Hell's Kitchen, I get a frozen margarita and nachos. That's what I do. That's not what you want to do. Or maybe you do, and maybe you do that. But like, I don't know what to tell you to do in the East Village. Live off your parents' trust fund. Like that's what you do, and that's not my life. So I don't know what to tell you. And where I work now, it's like, oh, I don't hang out in the South Bay. I barely like working in the South Bay. Like, what is this? So with all that being said, the thing about me telling you my name is that then you use it to jump the line. And no matter what I'm doing, if I'm dealing with somebody else, hey Sean, when you got a sec, hey Sean, hey Sean, hey Sean. Whereas you could just be like, hey Sean, when it's appropriate for you to say, hey Sean, and not to mention that there's two other bartenders twiddling their damn thumbs 6 feet away from me that you could talk to. But you want to talk to me, and I get it. Oh, I get it. I'm magnetic. But I am not your play toy, and I have this screen of drinks to make for the entire. I got like 50 drinks up here. Not 50, but sometimes. But I got all these annoying ass drinks with too many garnishes, and you just can't compute that I'm busy. And this isn't just about not asking my name. It's about not doing this to your server, because if I'm busy, other people are busy. Your server has other tables. Again, shared experience, not a private dining room. And when you occupy their time when you don't really need it, then you're taking away from the other table's experience and what the other table needs. And then and then that table feels ignored. And so then when the waiter gets there, they grab onto them and they don't want to let them go because they don't know when they'll see them again, because people like you occupy everyone's time. I know this is a rant, but last night's dude, that was the same dude that I told to go home. He's like, what should we do? He got my name right away, and he was just the world's biggest sleazeball. And he was like asking me about the chef. And I was like, oh, well, the chef, also started at this restaurant in the group and then came here and da 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 da. And he's like, oh, yeah, yeah, I know her from that place that you're talking about. And I know her from da da. And I love all this. This is my first time here. And he's just like shooting the shit. And I could just tell, like, either he's a rep, either he sells liquor, or he works in the industry. Turns out he works in the industry, because even if you work in the industry, you can still be a bad customer. And he was just like this slick, sleazy slime ball who was just like out to connect with people. He's the type of guy that refers to women as females. And at one point, as he was seeing women come in, he's like, what's your corkage fee? What's your corkage fee? And I told him what our corkage fee. So he went down to the liquor store across the street, bought a mediocre bottle of Chateauneuf de Pape, and brought it in. He's like, so not yet. I'm going to finish my drink, but when she's getting close to being done with her wine, I'm going to offer this. So just make sure you have that ready. And then he like played this quiz with her about guess the wine. And she was really cool, but she also wasn't really feeling it. So then she brought in the other girl next to her and he kind of like, extended the offer to her. And he was just like, and it was like they both slowly tried ditching him. And throughout the whole night, he was just getting like sloppier and sloppier. And then it came out how he works in hospitality and, just how great I am, which is nice. I know I'm great, but you're also annoying the fuck out of me and occupying my time when you don't need to be screaming my name out. And then he started talking about the chef owner of our restaurant. He's like, yeah, I know her from here and there. And I was like literally regurgitating to the people around him everything I told him as if it was true. And I was just like, you are garbage. And I mean, the monologues that, I need to sit down and write a book and write all these characters. But he was there. At one point, he had like scared off all the women from the bar. And then there was this one guy who had swagger. And this man like left with someone's number. And I was just like looking at this outside observer, dear thirsty human being, from somebody who is a reformed thirsty human being, and still manages that to this day because, you are who you are. And you just have to remember to, like, I got my tea, I got my water. You got to do what you got to do to quench your own thirst, all right? Be your own Sprite. But this man had swagger, and I'm like looking at this. I'm like, you could take a note from this guy who's not even trying. And all these women, and this man is 10 years older than you. Age ain't nothing but a number. This man is not like, you wouldn't look at him and immediately go, people's sexiest man alive. But you look at him and be like, huh, I'd like to see that. So like you could take a note from how this man is just chill. This man's not coming to get people's number. This man came to eat and have a drink. And this man saw how busy I was and politely asked for my attention each time he needed it. And he got it. The first time I was a little short with him and I felt bad. I made it up to him. And I feel bad for that because I will own it. Like I say, I'm always fair, but like, just don't be that person. All right. This was something that I just need to get off my chest because it was so intense. And yesterday was SantaCon and I was looking at everyone's, and thankfully we did not get any SantaCons in our restaurant. Apparently they got them for brunch, but not for dinner. But I was looking at everyone realizing, like, I have a cousin who's a mailman in San Francisco, and he posted, like, when you go to work and you forget that it's SantaCon, and all these friends that, like, were going out to see all these shows in New York and, like, had this giant day of supporting artists, and then we're like, oh, fuck, it's SantaCon. And I was like, poor suckers, not realizing that I'm a bartender in a beach town. And I'm walking to work and I just see these sea of red hats and ugly sweaters. And I'm like, fuck my life. I am just like feeling so sorry for everyone else and not even realizing that I should be feeling sorry for myself. And I get to work and I see my manager. I'm like, we are not that place. We are not that establishment. He's like, no, it's not SantaCon. It's a Santa stroll. Bitch. I don't care what you call it. At 10 o'clock at night, it's gonna be a disaster. It's gonna be a minefield. Anyways, we're moving off of that because I actually have things that were scripted that I wanted to talk about. So don't ask your server's name unless you're gonna tell their manager about how amazing they are. Don't ask your server's name unless you're gonna hand them $100 bill, which somebody did last night. Don't ask your server's name if you're not going to leave them the fuck alone and just be glad that you know their name so you can thank them properly, all right? That you can ask your server's name, but just read the room. Clearly, this guy didn't read the room with me. As you could see, he didn't read the room with all these women. Oh, sorry, I forgot about this. Oh, he was talking that guy's ear off. And he was just going on and on about, like, there's all these things in hospitality, like, drinking is an issue in hospitality and all that, and drug use and this and that. And people aren't taking care of themselves. And, and they're eating, food like this, and like pointing to the food that we serve. And I'm like, sir, this is some of the most healthy, delicious food. Yeah, it's got calories, but it's all fresh. Everything in here this ain't Applebee's, baby. This ain't Chili's, which there's a time and place for, okay? But this ain't that, baby. We don't reheat nothing. We cook it. Everything is prepped. And he's talking about, just how unhealthy of a lifestyle it is as he's getting progressively more and more drunk. He started on Negronis, went to this Chateauneuf de Pape, went to a Tempranillo, went back to Negronis, and then a white Negroni, and then all these. So, and he's talking about alcohol abuse and substance abuse in hospitality. That's rich. That's rich. Now, I do want to touch on two more things. I recently came across a podcast that is new to me called Ask Rona. And this was brought to me by none other than Maddie Pagel, the at hysterical_Bertha on Instagram. I would venture to say our number one listener. Close follow with JM Shot and with Nathan Nolan Edwards. I'm so used to calling him NNE. But he sent me something that he heard on that show. And I went to go hear a clip and I was like, is this a parody show? He's like, no, it's an actual show. And he sent me his interpretation of the question and the advice. And then I went back to listen because I was shocked and mortified. Like, I hope this is not the advice that this person is giving about working in hospitality and how to get a reservation. And so I went to the episode and I heard it, and it was not actually that deep. It was actually kind of insightful. So the first thing is, they're asking, like, what do you do when you don't get a reservation? And they had a guest on who's a comedian, who's somewhat famous. I don't know. I'm old. I sit on my couch and I watch Netflix. But she was like, what do you do when you don't have a reservation? And she's like, I walk up to the host stand and I say, hi, I have some money and I want to spend it here. that one, there was no saving grace for that. That's not how you do it. You know who else has money that they want to spend here? Everyone that made a reservation. Everyone that is currently sitting at a table right now. Everyone that's waiting in line on the wait list or waiting at the bar for a table to open up or chose the bar to have, because we got full dinner service at the bar. They all have money that they want to spend here. Not that they just want to spend here, that they're in the act of spending here. So I'm going to just guide you to not do that and to take ownership. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the thing I want you to take from this episode and every episode I get is ownership and accountability for your actions and where you may or may not have dropped the ball. You didn't make a reservation? That's okay. You got to wait. People got to wait all the time. We wait in traffic. We wait in line. You know, you get on Southwest and you don't check in early enough and you're in group C and you got to, give your bag away because there's going to be no storage because all the people in A brought 3 bags on and the flight attendants aren't really checking them. So that's life. That's accountability. All right. So we're going to take that. Now, the second one, which I think he might have misheard how it was phrased, is actually how you do it. And Ask Rona's co-host, who I'm so sorry, I'll learn your name. You're like my new obsession, and I will learn your name. And please listen to Ask Rona. She's got this amazing, thick, beautiful Boston accent. I think they live in New York now. It is phenomenal, and it's like talking to an aunt. And I absolutely love it because you know me and middle-aged women. I am a middle-aged woman, if not an elderly woman inside, an old Salvadoran woman. But the co-host said when he can't get a reservation online, this is what he does. He calls in and he says, "Hi, this is Brian." Let's say I think his name is Brian. "Who am I speaking to?" The other person gives their name and he says, "Oh, hi, Elizabeth. This is when it's okay. I know I just had a whole monologue about not asking people's name, but this is when it's okay to ask people's name because this is who I'm speaking to. I just want to make sure we're on the same page and I'm not going to use your name against you. I just want to, okay, Elizabeth, great. So Elizabeth, I tried booking a reservation online and there was no availability. So I was wondering if you could help me. One, again, you are building familiarity appropriately. Again, I said I know that you should not, I said not to ask people's name. This is when it's appropriate to do that. Second of all, this is actually how online reservations work. Online reservations are limited. So that way, this is what we have available. And then the restaurant needs to have some sort of wiggle room because people do walk in and make reservations. If the restaurant gave all the reservations away to Open Table or whoever they use to book, Resi, whatever, and then somebody walked in and then they had to point them back to Open Table, it'd just be like, why did I walk in? Some people like to do things in person. Some people like to do things over the phone. So these are 2 examples that I was actually really scared what he was going to be telling me. But this is actually 2 good ways to think about like what to do and what not to do when things don't go your way or when you miss the boat on reservations. Small little tips that are going to get us through, especially now if you didn't make a reservation for Christmas or New Year. It's a little late. It's not lost, but it's a little late. That guy really got to me and I took too much time in my opening. And my dear sweet guest, who is somebody that I love and adore, has been patiently waiting. And I'm not going to make them wait any more. And we'll get to this stuff because we have to talk about that potluck, that Christmas potluck. And now there's an ugly sweater contest at this work. All these morale boosting things that they do in order to avoid actually feeding us and seeing us as human beings and not just numbers that we use to punch in on. Anyway, let's get to today's guest, who is one of my all-time favorite human beings. I met, oh my goodness, 13 years ago. About 13 years ago when I went to San Francisco to do my very first holiday test drive, which is coming back to San Francisco, December 21st at 5 p.m. at Feinstein's at the Nico. Go to feinsteinssf.com and get your tickets. It's gay. It's a gay Christmas. I'm going to be in fishnets, in sequins, platform heels, and a mistletoe fascinator. It is fascinating. But I wouldn't be able to be in my 13th installment of Holiday Test Drive if it wasn't for specifically for Martuni's. And if it wasn't for everyone at Martuni's, not just Skip, who is a big part of this, but the entire family at Martuni's. And today's guest slings drinks there. She runs that back room. She works the crowd. She works through annoying singers. I know I'm one of them. She has seen me through many eras of my life. She's seen me in my Negroni phase. She's seen me in my Sapphire with a twist phase. She's seen my Tito's with a twist phase. She's seen me in my Manhattan phase, Cosmo phase, back to Negroni, back to Manhattans. And she always seems to be up to date with where I'm at. Like, oh, this is your drink. She just always seems to know. She's delivered drinks mid-show. She has a drink waiting for me after the show. She is so good at this job. I feel bad about how much I hate this job. That's just how wonderful she is. But outside of Martuni's and outside of the talents that she possesses there, she has a podcast called What in the Mystical Heck? I think it's heck. It's not hell. I listen to it. And I'm sorry that I messed that up. Where she kind of unpacks witchy things for people who are currently practicing witchcraft, for people who are curious about witchcraft, spirituality, setting intentions, all this. She has Golden Apple Mystical, which is her online shop for connecting people with psychics, energy cleansers, cleaners. We'll talk about that. I'm sorry. I'm on a roll, and that hasn't kicked in yet. And also an online shop where you can buy little potions and things to help you set your intentions and things you need to start your own witchcraft journey. I just absolutely adore her, and she's got such an amazing voice. She's got such an amazing heart, and I can't wait to share. Well, I can't wait for her to share some of her journey because she has seen some stuff. So please, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody, actually everybody, not ladies, we're past that. Everyone, please welcome my dear friend, Nikki. Hello, my love, mid-sip.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? I love that you were taking a sip as I'm like bringing you on because that's like when somebody is like eating their dinner and I'm like, "How's that steak?" And they're like literally taking the first bite and I'm like, "Oh, wrong time, but also good time because I don't really care and I got other stuff to do." But you, I care about. So, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm a little tired today because we had a market yesterday and we were really busy, but it was a very good day.
And you're double dipping right now because you're working holidays in hospitality and you're
Mhm.
working holidays as a small business owner, selling your products in boutiques for the holidays and obviously for the rest of the year. So how are you holding up? In that candle burning on both ends and multiple ends, because I know you're a mother and you have all the and a podcaster, like all these things. How are you
I
holding
have
up
all
with
the
all the
things.
plates?
This was our last event for the year. So, the rest of the year is just cakewalk because, I don't still have to buy Christmas presents or, finish out the year at the
I do.
bar.
I
And I
do.
think I just agreed to work New Year's Eve.
Oh, so have you stepped back from Martuni's a bit?
Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no.
Oh no, but your schedule is set.
So I always work Mondays and Fridays, but the rest
Hmm.
of the week is just whenever he needs me.
Got it. Oh, how
And then I
very
kind of
Nancy
work
from
with
Oliver of
whenever.
you. As long as he needs me, I'll I'll be there.
It
That's
is a wonderful, like, as you know, it's a wonderful place to be. Um, some days are obviously better than others, just depending on, our experience as much as the customer's experience. But overall, I don't know that I'd want to be anywhere else.
I've often thought about that because sometimes when I see Skip posting job postings at for Martuni's, I'm like, is it time to go back to San Francisco? And like, even though I say I'm done with this industry, like, I mean, to be with Skip, to be with you, to be with Lauren, uh, while pursuing other things, like, I think I could do. You remember Dean? He used to do like the happy hour, or Diane used to do the happy hour. I'm like, I think I could swing that. I couldn't do the late nights like you do because just those drunken singers, like it is just because it's the finance bros and the broy people that come in and just like scream into the microphone and have their phone up to their face. Wait, actually, let's bookmark that because I want to talk about Martuni's because there are people listening who are like, "What is this place?" It is magical. Trust me, it is. It is
Yes.
magical. It is one of a kind, and truly, it's fortunately one of a kind, and also unfortunately because San Francisco and the world needs more places like Martuni's. But I'm so grateful that Martuni's exists and is what
Yes.
it is because it is such a community hub. But we got a podcast to follow. So what is the first question? What was your gateway job into this industry?
So into the food industry, I actually was 16 years old and I went to work for Pizza Hut. And
I think
I
that's
was
my
a
brother's first job. No, his first job was newspapers, but I think when he got his license, I think it was Pizza Hut that Chris worked for.
yeah, I was one of their customer service people. Eventually, I went into management, and I managed one of their full service restaurants. Well, actually, two of their full service restaurants
Oh,
before I
okay.
left the company. So I have the serving side as well as the management side.
I mean, and unfortunately, you and I are unfortunately just have that thing where people want to thrust uh, important tasks upon us and be like, "You seem like you should manage," and I'm like, "No." So unfortunately, you're just too competent, and that is. But I'm sure it taught you a lot of things, like having been on the management side and on the serving side. A little insight to both, because it's very easy for managers to roll their eyes at servers as if they had never been there before, which I've worked in places where some managers have never served. They've just hosted or managed their way into managing, and that's interesting.
Absolutely.
And as servers, it's very easy for me to throw my managers under the bus. I like to say I'm fair. Sometimes I have to take a few laps around the block before I get back to fairness. But, I'm just like, because like with my manager now, I think as a human being, we could be really good friends. I look at him in the restaurant and I'm like, what's your deal, dude? Like, how do you actually not know how to schedule? How do you not know how to do this? How do you not know to not mess with people's money? But then, like, and I want to be angry at him, but then it's like we kiki. And we're just like, two girls shooting the shit like yesterday with the Santa Con. I was like, baby, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's rain. And he's just like, you are too feisty. I'm like, yes, I am. And it's like, oh no, I'm supposed to not like you, but I actually do like you. And this is just, it's that balance. So, what are some things, I know this is not the next question, but what are some things you learned as a manager that gave you insight to now being back on the floor? And what are some things, as a server, you brought to management to kind of be like, I want to make sure that I acknowledge this with this position to make sure that my staff benefits from this experience?
Well, I've been really lucky to work for some great companies, not only in hospitality, but in customer service on the retail side.
Mm,
And I've always worked my way up. So I've always, started as a regular associate or regular, server, what have you, and worked my way up. So I learned the frustrations of being on the server side
yeah.
and how people don't always view you as a person. You were
Yes.
just another cog in the wheel, another avenue for them to get what they're looking for sometimes. Not everyone is like that, but I learned to be able to deal with that and to be able to talk to my staff in a way that, hey, am I treating them just like these customers are treating them? Or am I treating them with the respect that they need?
While also
Because that's
holding them to task.
exactly. And on the flip side of that, as someone that was a server and went into management or an associate went into management, sometimes I look at these kids and I'm like, really? Really? I could do that job with my hands tied behind my back and a blindfold. Please do your job. That's all. It's a bare minimum.
I I mean, I've noticed that as you grow older, the newer staff just continues to get younger, and there are some amazing things. Like there are things that I'm like, I wish I had that. I wish I had that awareness when I was your age to be like, it's not that deep, and I don't. This company doesn't own my soul because, again, as a recovering Catholic, I just am like, I have to. I just feel this guilt, and I feel like I have to serve, and I feel like I have to be available and go out of my way for others in a way that's like, well, what do I need? And so, and I see some of these kids, and like, it's not that deep. It's a serving job, and I'm like, you're right. But it's also a job like any other job, and you
Mm-hmm.
chose it. So, what are some things you've noticed in these kids that are like, I wish I had that, or things like,
And
I
last
wish you
episode
had
is that.
this. What
So
happened?
I do appreciate the fact that they do take self care very seriously,
Yeah.
which, as you are someone that is in a Hispanic family and you're an older sibling, so we get responsibility from day one. As soon
No,
as
I'm
you're
the
big enough to be an
baby.
older sibling,
I'm the baby.
you're the baby. You're the baby.
I'm the
Oh,
baby.
yeah. I thought Chris. Why did I think Chris was the baby? Because he acts like.
So that happens a lot because Chris has a little more melanin than me, so he does look a little younger. And I think also just emotionally. I can't wait for him to
I
hear
was going to
this.
say behavior. I was going to say
Behavior.
behavior.
Yeah, because like
Um,
Andrew's the middle, but he takes
mhm.
on like the eldest responsibility. And Chris
Okay,
and
so
I
you
are
have
each
no
other's
idea.
keepers. We balance each
So
other.
growing up as an older sibling in a Hispanic family, You, as soon as these, as soon as you can pick up a diaper, you're getting the responsibility packed on you.
Yeah.
And when you go into the workforce, you bring that with you. It doesn't stay home. So I am my own worst enemy when it comes to I will give and give, and I burn the candle at every single available surface
Your candle is a
until
disco ball with wicks everywhere. Just like
my candle looks like a DNA experiment. Are you kidding?
amazing.
I think in the entire time I've been at Martuni's, less than a handful of times I've ever called out. I literally am on my way to the emergency room calling out to work.
I mean,
And
because
I will stay at work until then.
that's the expectation. Like, and though it's not healthy,
It's
we
not.
used to have like, especially on New Year's, that when I worked at Cook Shop, they used to say, if you are actually sick, if you actually have a fever, and this is abusive, but this is how it was, come to work and we will send you home. If you call out on New Year's Day, you will either be written up or fired. And it's because that's just the way it was because of experience. It wasn't just because they did that to be dicks, but like, yeah, people are going to call out on New Year's Day. So if you're sick or you lost a limb, we got bleach. We can clean up the blood, but we just need to see it in person before we send you to Bellevue. you
No,
know?
absolutely, absolutely, and it's and especially in our industry, they tied one on the night before, whether or not they're actually sick. They could have had 102 fever and still would be tying it on.
Yeah,
It's
you know
New
what spikes
Year.
fevers? Hangovers
Yeah,
spike fevers. Like that's,
there you go.
I have a coworker who, though he does get his shit done. I do worry about him. He's a fabulous little party boy. But he comes in and he sometimes I'm like, I think you just threw your shirt on over what you went out in last night. And he comes in and it's just like, you are not even hungover. You're still there. But,
Hmm.
and this is unhealthy, but he does get the job done. He
Yeah.
he does get the job done. Whereas a lot of people, I'm like, you had a full night's sleep and you still suck. Like,
Yeah.
you had a bubble
No,
bath this morning and you still can't get it done.
yeah. Our generation abided by rule number one: don't mess with my money, right? And we did whatever it took to make that dollar. Now these
Yes.
kids, they have the self care on the, they're like, I've been working too much. I need a break, which is it's good, and I should be more like that. But the part of me that's not like that, the very opposite of that, is like, why can't you be here? I've been here for a month straight,
Yeah.
working every day, and I'm great, and I'm 20 years older than you. Okay, 30 years older than you.
Nobody got it. Baby,
Um,
you got that Hispanic skin. You look good,
oh, honey,
baby.
I'm 50. I am very proud to be 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes I still run circles around these kids. They have to, and it's like, oh, I need to go have a cigarette. Oh, I need to go have this. No, you need to do that on your time off.
Yeah.
And that's my personal feeling. Of course, as someone that's been a manager and as a coworker, I'm not saying anything unless it gets excessive. Then I'm like, dude, can you wait 5 minutes? Because I've been waiting to pee for 5 hours. I would love to go do that before you have your fifth cigarette break.
Exactly. And if you're going to take all those cigarette breaks or all those breaks, like when I need to walk off the floor, I walk off the floor because I earned it. And like
Yeah.
with bussers, like, oh, I was just about to do that. And I was like, you and my old roommate, the story of your life. I was just about to, a memoir.
Oh, there.
come on, like you gotta be a little fast to keep up with me because I will bust the plates. I will run the food. I know this about you because actually I heard this on your podcast. One time you went to a convention. I can't remember where, and that's
Mhm.
not important. But you went to a restaurant that was just like this poor waitress was slammed and
Oh,
you
she was so
just
slim.
got up and usually like I'm not a plate stacker and I don't like
Mhm.
when people stack plates for me because I'm like you don't
Yeah.
know what you're doing and some people who work in the industry are like I will always stack plates and I'm like well, I just think that tells us like where each other worked because like for me I work with awkward plates and when you stack them and you put a fork in between each one and then there's like a still like you don't have to stack plates I can make a beautiful bouquet on my arm of plates. So please don't do it. But you did, and I think it was very appropriate in this instance. Actually, will you share the story and as opposed to me mansplaining
Yes.
your own experience to you?
I was in Ypsilanti, Michigan, at a pagan convention called Convocation. If you are a practitioner out there and you've never been, it's a fantastic experience. But in the hotel bar, and let me just say this: the hospitality at this hotel was phenomenal. They were a brand new hotel. It was our first time for the convention to be there, And we couldn't have been happier. Literally, this convention took over the entire hotel.
Good for
And
them.
we had gotten there after the first wave of dinner service, and we were waiting, and everybody's sitting at dirty tables because there were no available seats otherwise. And this poor gal is trying to do 15 things, and there's a busser trying to help her out, but they don't have enough people for what's going on in the moment. And I was just sitting there, and my business partner's looking at me, and she's looking at me, and she's like, "It's really driving you nuts, isn't it?" I'm like, because I just felt I've been there.
Yeah.
And I know what it's like to just be in the weeds, and you look out at this sea of dirty tables and new people sitting there that are all waiting for you to take them. And they're not being rude. They're not being pushy. I mean, a couple of people are like, "God, can I get a menu?" I'm like,
look around.
So I finally went up to her, and of course, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but not only did I tip her heavily every single time we were there, I made a special point of telling the managers of the hotel what an amazing job she did. And everyone, I was not the only person. Received so many, Gabby was her name. They received so many compliments about her that I'm like, please give her a bonus.
Yeah.
So I went up to her and I was like, and she was like, "Hey girl, I'll be right with you. I'm so sorry." I was like, no, take your time. You do what you need to do. We're okay. But you know that I'm industry. Can I please help you bust these tables? I know you're in the weeds. I know you guys are completely overwhelmed right now. Can I please help you bust these tables? She knew she shouldn't have done it. She knew that, that it was against their policy, but she was like, "You know what? Yeah. I busted shit out of all those tables, brought everything over, put them where she told me." And she was like, "Thank you so much." I was like, "This just gives you a minute to breathe. Come to us when you are ready. I take 15 minutes to look at the menu. And I'm going to order the same damn thing I ordered last night." And just amazing. But just being there and knowing. But I will say, if you are anybody that is industry and feels the need to do this, please ask first.
Yes.
And I have so many people that come in that are trying to help me, and customers they want to bring glassware to the bar when they know that I've just had 30 people leave and I'm still trying to close out 2 tables and I have a ton of glassware in the room, and they want to help me bring it over, and it's incredibly stressful.
Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from. And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast. Everywhere. Literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF shiftpodcast.com. All right, back to the show. It's almost like dealing with a child that wants to help, and it's like, you don't actually have the coordination to make this helpful. Yes. And you're going to bring all this glassware to the bar, and the bar and you're going to put it right where the clean drinks are that have to go out, and Lauren's going to fucking flip when she sees all this glassware. Like, thank you for wanting to help, but I think it's that thing to where people, it's like, do you want to help to actually help me? Because if you want to help to actually help me, please hear the words coming out of my mouth. And if I don't need help, that's how you can help me. And that's the same thing I feel like with stacking plates, because all the places I've worked, what stacking plates says to my managers, regardless of, it could be 2 seconds after they take their bite and they just, like, instinctually, you know how dogs, after they go potty, they claw behind them, like instinctually they stack their plates. And what that says to my manager, though it's not the truth, is Sean is ignoring them. Someone dropped the ball. And it's like, you're sending the wrong message. And I get that you don't want to sit in filth. Nobody wants to sit in filth. But like, just, take a little breath. Take a little breath. Like last night, the same thing with that guy that was in the industry. I'm like, you should know better if you're in industry. He's like, can you clear this? Yeah, right. Oh, you're a manager? Okay, that tells me what kind of manager you are. But I'm like, you see that I'm working, and you see that there are two. My coworkers work hard, especially last night. We're the A team, and they're working, but like they could be available for this. And there was a few times where he was asking me stuff, and I said, sure. Like, I'm literally building drinks, and I'm like, sure, just give me one moment. I'm like, hey, Tyler, Tyler, can you get him another? Yeah, Tyler will be right with you. And I kept trying to direct him, but he wanted
Yeah.
nothing to do with Tyler. He just wanted to sit down and be in front of the action. I get service bar. It's like, but it's not Benihana.
And you're
I'm actually
fabulous.
not doing this for you. Thank you, babe. But this isn't about me. This show isn't about me. This show's about you. So now that's a tough shift for that server. And I remember
Mhm.
because when I started listening to your podcast, it was part of when I was putting this podcast together because I think you launched summer 2024, somewhere around there,
January.
spring.
You
Okay,
probably, yeah, in the beginning of the year, yeah.
and then I was like, so I started listening. I'm like, huh. And I'm getting ideas, and I wanted to like listen to a bunch of people, and I also wanted to support you because I adore you. And as I said in the intro, like you're so much a part of my holiday tradition, and you became quickly a part of my family. And obviously, my brother adores you, and you're just so amazing. I was like, so clearly, it's easy to support artists when you love them so much. And so when I heard that story, I was like, okay, this is it. This is the type of community I want to build. And so it was a very good
Yeah.
example for me going into this podcast. So I'm glad to finally have you here. But I want to hear about a tough shift that you have survived.
It's so hard to just think of one that just kind of really stands out. I mean, when I started at Martuni's, it was Pride weekend, and Skip was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah," and which is also their anniversary weekend. So I
And
mean,
that's dangerous
completely.
because you can slip on poppers. You could really hurt yourself.
He's like, "You'll be fine." Threw me in the front room, and I remember my favorite table of that night was this group of lesbians that were there,
God
and they
bless them.
said, "You smell fantastic. What is that scent?" And I said, "Tide with Downy." And they said, "Can we sniff you?" And I said, "Sure."
That is so San Francisco Pride. That is the most San Francisco Pride, and probably the most pleasant smell you would smell at Pride because if you've been at Civic Center,
It's a little
and
wild.
it's a
It's a
little
little.
ripe when people are dancing in their pleather and rubber and leather outfits, which is wonderful. Live your life, but I'm gonna just stand not downwind.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. So, can you
Um,
paint a little more of that picture of Pride in Martuni's, which Martuni's is crazy to begin with, but like how packed was that?
that first weekend, the back was way more packed than the front. So he took pity on me. He worked the back room and I worked the front room. But I will say, definitely, when you get standing room only in Martuni's, you get standing room only in Martuni's. I mean, I literally had to learn to carry the tray above my head full of cocktails just to get through the room.
Yeah,
If I
and
could
with
have a little snow
stems.
plow in front of me, I need one of those. What's the cow thing that they put on the plow so they can move people around? And I'm constant, pardon me, right to your left. I'm going to this way. I'm going, or I point to people which way I'm heading so they know where to move.
Exactly.
And it is. I mean, I don't think you can't move in the room, and then 50 more people are trying to come back there
And how do
because
you
it is.
how do you
Mhm.
manage that? Like, how do you keep up in like whose check is who and who's standing where and closing out the checks and making sure because, like you said, don't mess with my cash. How do you do this? Actually, this is the point I have written down here. Like your crowd control in a place like that, which is it is such. I mean, it is a magnet for people to come and to celebrate and to be that crowd in the back room, to be the crowd in the front room. How do you, the tables in the front are obviously a little easier, but how do you manage that back room where it's just like nuts?
So I do a couple things. So on nights that I know it's going to be really busy, I do take credit cards. Normally on a regular night, I don't. I just remember
Yeah.
where everybody and I remember what they have. I do later write it down, especially if I have bigger groups. But for the most part, if you are sitting at a table, I will remember who you are and what you had. I'm very lucky that way. If you come up to me and talk to me in the well, I'm like, "Where are you sitting? Who are you?"
I have no
I'm sorry.
context for who you are.
That's where you're supposed to be. But of course, my station is right next to the restroom. So as they're coming in, they'll say, "Well, hey, Nikki, when you're ready, can we have another round?" And I'm like, unless I know you.
Yeah,
And so when I take the credit cards, the first thing I do is I write their name on my little slip that I put with it. Their first name. I don't do last names, always first name. That way I can address them and then I can start remembering the face with the name.
exactly.
Because, I don't even remember the name of my children sometimes. I'm like,
And one of them works with you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. My oldest daughter definitely, she works at the bar as a bartender and a server.
Wow. Oh, she
Um,
graduated as a bartender.
mhm.
That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Less now. She had some wrist surgery and some hip surgery this This poor kid, I don't know where the genetics went wrong for this poor kid, but you know, she still comes in and does her stuff. But it's one, I run a very strict room. I'm
Yeah.
probably the strictest server in terms of what's okay and what's not okay. You know, I let people know, the people that are closest to the back door that leads to our storage area. I'm like, hey guys, if you're going to stay here, I just want you to be really aware. This is a high traffic area. My bar back's going to come through with bottles. Please be aware and make it as easy for him as possible. Like, I try to set things up in advance just so it's not so crazy. Because I mean, our bar back comes back with these, bottles sky high in a box, and there's 100 people in the room.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, please make it as easy for him as possible. Don't put chairs in front of there. I mean, some nights I'm a little saucier. You talk about you were a little spicy. I was a little spicy the other night. I was like, I'm going to have you turn around and look at that door and tell me why that chair is not appropriate where you placed it. Yeah.
It's funny because I've talked about here how my time spent as a nanny has
Mm-hmm.
influenced me. It's one, given me more patience with customers, but it's also been like, is that really how you want to talk? You think speaking to me that way is going to get you what you want? So like, and I definitely see, like, as a mother, you're just like, I can't turn it off. I can't turn it off. You're acting like a child. I'm
That,
going
but
to talk to you
also
like a
my
child.
children don't act like that.
Yeah, no, they
My
don't.
are very well because they hear me talk about work, but they're also, when they become adults and go out into that world, because my younger two are 18 and 14. When they go out into that world, they're going to be very, very aware of what's okay and what's not when they go
What's
into
not okay?
bars. But I also do things like when people want to move the tables, and I kind of make it funny. I'm like, everybody came out of the pandemic with their interior design degree, but it's designed for my path, for my butt to get through this room. And
And see,
it's dirty.
yeah, and I think that also goes, like you said, you're one of the more strict servers, but I don't think people feel it that way. They feel taken care of, and they feel like clear communication, but I don't think you come off as that server that's like, oh, like people are afraid of you. I think people actually, because I know how I feel around you, like a warm hug, because like just like children need boundaries, so do customers.